We begin with an expression of regret by U.S. President Barack Obama that he is not present at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation meeting taking place in Bali, Indonesia. At a Tuesday news conference, he said there is some embarrassment, too, over America's international standing when it comes to the U.S. government shutdown and possible default. CCTV's Nathan King joins us live from the White House with the very latest. Nathan.
Yes, Mike, if anyone thought this was just a domestic dispute about the US budget, well, the full international ramifications were on show here at the White House. And it only took one comment from a Chinese official publicly to make front-page news on the China Daily as well as in the New York tabloids. And an American president admitting that the country's influence was being undermined by the government shutdown.
I'm eager to take your questions.
The US president makes a blunt admission. His absence from the APEC Summit benefits China.
I'm sure the Chinese don't mind that I'm not there right now, in the sense that, you know, there are areas where we have differences and they can present their point of view and not get as much of pushback as if I were there, although Secretary of State Kerry is there and I'm sure he's doing a great job.
While the APEC Summit is more than just about the agendas of the larger powers, the US, China, Japan and Russia, the US has been far from center stage in Bali this week. And while world leaders have been sympathetic, the loss of US presence is undeniable.
We must be at home now to handle the situation in the US, but of course, actually we are hoping that Obama should be here, but I fully understand.
I think I'll have to agree that President Obama has to attend to the government shutdown. The U.S. economy is the #1 economy in the world. What happens there affects all of us.
If I were him, I wouldn't have come as well. And probably any leader of any state would have done the same. When the government is on a forced leave, the last thing you think about is going abroad.
The ambitious free trade zone planned for 13 Pacific nations for as early as next year will be slowed. Obama also stressed that any default on US debt following a failure to raise the US debt ceiling will have global implications. So his absence from APEC is understood.
I should have been there. But, you know, I can tell you, because I had to apologize to some of the hosts countries, that they understood that the most important thing I can do for them and the most important thing I can do for the bilateral relationship and America's reputation is making sure that we reopen our government and we don't default.
Mike, most economists agree with the president's assessment that basically any debt default could lead to skyrocketing interest rates, a financial crisis not seen the likes of since 2008, and a plummeting dollar, and many other consequences as well. And President Obama, the US president, basically saying there what world leaders have been saying privately for the last few weeks, increasingly worried about America's reputation. Unlike the president, though, world leaders, no matter how powerful, don't really have a say in this fight.
And Nathan, the clock keeps on ticking. October 17th, the debt ceiling limit deadline looming. Are we any closer to resolving this dispute?
No, despite an hour-long news conference by President Obama saying he will not negotiate, not be held hostage by House Republicans, the leader of the House Republicans came out, John Boehner, and said, we've got to talk and we've got to negotiate. Both sides are digging in and talking over television rather than talking to each other, Mike.
And you can't get much done doing that. Nathan King live for us here in Washington, D.C. Thanks so much.